Welcome to another deep dive. So when you dropped off this stack of articles on AKB48, I gotta admit, I was pretty curious. Like, Japanese idol groups, this whole industry we're talking about, not exactly something you hear about every day, right?
Yeah, it's a fascinating world, really. And AKB48, they're kind of legendary in that world.
Okay, so for those of us who maybe missed a few J-pop memos along the way, set the stage. Why is AKB48 so iconic?
Yeah.
And what can their story tell us about where fandom is going? Like, is there something bigger here?
Okay, well, imagine this. A pop group, right? But they have their own theater, performing almost every single day.
Wow, every day.
And it's not just performing. After, they interact with fans directly.
Seriously?
AKB48 totally changed what it meant to be an idol. Like, they made it about being accessible, relatable even, powerful stuff.
And it worked, right? I mean, they became huge in Japan, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Everywhere you looked, commercials, TV, magazines, you name it. And their business model, genius, really. We're talking limited edition CD covers, handshake events, the works. Fans were encouraged to buy tons of copies just to support their favorite members. It's called oshikatsu in Japan, this whole idea.
Okay, see, oshikatsu is what I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
Because that's intense. I mean, I get being a fan, but this is another level.
You're telling me this is active participation in your idol's success. It's a two-way street. Fans pour in their time, energy, and money, all to boost these idols to stardom. It's been compared to, like, Japan's tradition of gift-giving, showing you value someone through material support.
Wild.
Yeah.
So we're talking buying the same CD over and over, going to every event, basically making this a central part of your life.
Pretty much, yeah. And it worked great for a long time. AKB48 was rolling in it. Fans felt super connected to the group, to the individual members, the whole thing. But trends change, Nothing stays the same.
Which brings us up to now. And if I'm reading these articles right, AKB48 isn't quite what they used to be.
Maybe evolving is a better word than decline. The landscape's different. New groups popped up, even within their own little world, like Nogizaka 46. They're massive now. And then, well, you can't ignore K-pop, right? Huge globally. And it's definitely impacted J-pop, even in Japan.
So how is AKB48 handling all of this? Trying to go head-to-head with K-pop's global thing? Or sticking to what made them special, their core Japanese fans,
$1 million question. Some of these articles, they suggest they're going for a balance. Like, they started this new group, Umami. Very performance-heavy K-pop vibes for sure.
Interesting. So the landscape changing, maybe trying to grab those newer fans, the ones used to slick dance moves and a more like international sound.
Exactly. But then you still got the oshikatsu thing, right? It's so core to their identity. So yeah, a balancing act is what they're trying to pull off.
And is oshikatsu even like sustainable long term? I mean, we talked about the cost for fans. But what about the emotional side? When does it get to be too much?
You're hitting on something real. There's a human cost here, too. The pressure to keep up, the potential for letdown, like when your favorite idol graduates or the group dynamic shifts, it's a lot.
Hold on, graduates, J-pop dictionary, please.
Right. Yeah, it's this thing with idol groups. It basically means leaving the group. Maybe they hit a certain age or want to try different things. But it's a huge deal for idols and fans.
Wow, so there's like this built-in impermanence. You know from the start that the group won't stay the same. Adds a whole other dimension to it. It's like, your favorite show is going to end eventually, right?
Yeah.
But instead of a whole season to wrap it up, it's one last episode and boom, gone.
Spot on. That's exactly it. That mix of joy, excitement, and then, I don't know, kind of a bittersweet knowing things change. That's oshikatsu in a nutshell.
And for some fans, that change must hit harder than others, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you've gone all in on one idol.
Without a doubt. It shows how strong the bonds these groups build really are. It's something AKB48 has dealt with from day one, too. They've even got this whole senbatsu election system. Fans vote for which members are featured on their next single.
Wait, so fans get to decide who's front and center? Seriously?
Sort of, yeah. It's another example of how AKB48 blurs the lines between artist and fan. That participation, knowing your voice matters, it's a big draw for fans.
Brilliant, really, from a marketing standpoint.
Okay.
But back to the business side a sec, because that's where AKB48 gets praised, but also criticized a lot, right?
Yeah, true. Their whole model, it worked amazingly for a while, but it's definitely different. Releasing the same CD, but multiple versions, different bonus stuff each time, it's a lot.
It is. And these articles, they don't hold back. One even called it CD doping, which is, a bit much maybe, but I get the point. Is it exploiting fans, this system?
It's tough to say, honestly. On the one hand, fans choose to play along, right? No one's forcing them to buy a zillion copies. And for lots of fans, it's about showing they're dedicated, helping their fave move up the ranks. But yeah, there's a risk, especially younger fans feeling pressured to spend more than they can afford.
Totally. Like, it's not about the music anymore. It's this whole other set of expectations to live up to. And let's not forget the environmental impact, all those extra CDs. Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's interesting to see how AKB48 is adapting, trying stuff like online handshake events, particularly during the pandemic.
All right.
That got big.
Online handshakes. Okay, that one I need help visualizing. How do you even do that through a screen?
Yeah, it was a new challenge for them for sure. But it also opened doors. Suddenly, international fans, ones who could never get to Japan, they could interact with the idols.
So wider audience reach, which in today's world with entertainment being so global, that's got to be huge.
You got it. It shows how AKB48 is trying to find its place now that things are so different. Streaming's king, social media drives everything. It's a whole new ballgame.
And then you've got K-pop, which seems tailor-made for this new world. Online fan engagement, the super slick music videos, global collabs, they've got it down. Tough for any group, even one as big as AKB48, not to feel that pressure.
Totally agree. Seeing those two approaches side by side is interesting. K-pop aiming global, AKB48 with those deep roots in Japanese culture, this very specific, almost self-contained fan base.
Brings us right back to the core question, huh? Can AKB48 have both? Hold on to what makes them unique, but also change to stay relevant? It really is a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
Because you've got this fan base, right? Crazy dedicated, they built the whole thing. But then the world's not standing still. Can't just expect the good times to keep rolling forever, can they?
Nope. They got to figure out how to, bridge that gap. What worked then, what works now, and what's next, I guess.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? This isn't just the music biz or marketing, though that's a part of it. We're talking about a whole culture here, almost a lifestyle for some people.
Totally. Zoom out for a second. Think about the impact AKB48 had, just culturally. They took this idea, idols you can meet, regular girls working toward a dream, and blew it up huge.
It's like they tapped into something very Japanese, you know? That mix of working hard, dedication, everyone supports each other.
It resonated, for sure. And not just in Japan, don't forget. AKB48, they've got sister groups everywhere. Their reach is global at this point.
Which makes their situation even more interesting. Can this model, this very Japanese way of doing fandom, can it work in a world that's getting more globalized by the minute? Where social media calls the shots and everything's on streaming.
$1 million question, right? No easy answer. I'm curious to see how they handle it all, what choices they make in the next few years. It's going to be telling.
Because it feels like the stakes are high, not just for them, but for J-pop as a whole, for what it even means to be an idol or a fan these days in the digital world.
100%. And this goes way beyond just one group. We're seeing this all over entertainment.
Totally. Tradition versus, gotta innovate or die. Cultures blending together, artists and fans, how that relationship works now, it's all changing so fast.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating, honestly. It's not just getting to know AKB48, it's these bigger questions about what fandom even is anymore.
Exactly. And those are questions we're all figuring out as we go.
Yeah.
Whether you're super into J-pop or just watching how things unfold.
So, to everyone listening, here's a thought to chew on. As you learn more about AKB48, about Japanese idols in general, look for those little contradictions, the old ways bumping up against the new.
Because in that tension, that constant change,
Right.
that's where the good stuff is.
Maybe even a sneak peek at the future of fandom itself. Who knows?
Great stuff as always. Until next time, keep diving deep, everybody.